Welcome back to the African Career Podcast, and I'm your host, Pardingtone Nhundu. We here at the podcast, we talk about anything and everything in between choosing a career and actually fulfilling that or living your purpose. We are here to talk about how you transition from entry level into middle management, from there going up into senior management in different roles at different times and at different opportunities. And in the house today, we have an distinguished guest, Selina Waliaula, who is going to talk about her experience, what she sees and what she thinks about this particular transition as we move with our careers. Selina, welcome to the African Career Podcast.
Thank you, Pardingtone.
So I think, so that I do justice, I will allow you to introduce yourself.
Okay, so thank you, Pardingtone, for having me on your podcast. My name is Selina Waliaula. I am a transformation specialist by trade. I'm trained in business analysis, specifically digital transformation. So I'm the person who would design the IT systems that you'd have in an organization. I'm the person the developers didn't like. So I make them repeat a lot of things during the testing. Apart from that, that's my professional background. I am a sibling to 6 wonderful individuals, fourth born, my family. What else is interesting about me? I love fashion. I am a Christian. I love my faith and what we do in our faith and what we believe in. I love music, and I am excited to talk about what it looks like to be a senior leader.
Oh, thank you very much. So I think just jumping into it, what was your first professional role, and probably what shaped your early growth as you moved?
Okay, so I like to start with where I really started. So I was an intern first in one of the local banks in Kenya, specifically Kenya Commercial Bank in Karen branch. That was a very interesting role. I got to do pretty much everything in every single department, because that is pretty much the expectation for interns, especially when you're in industrial attachment. So I consider that as my first role, because a lot of times we easily ignore the starting points, the internships, etc. We take the more, what we call the serious roles, the ones where you're practicing more of what you're trained in. But I consider internship because that did shape my career growth. And the reason I'm saying that, because one, as an intern, I learned a lot about resilience. I think that's the first thing you realize the moment you get into work. You realize that you need to show up, you need to keep showing up, even when it's difficult, even when it's hard, when you don't understand, when you realize people are different and their worldviews are different. So for me, that's the first, the internship was the starting place of me understanding that you need to be resilient at work. You need to figure out your work ethic. You need to figure out why you're showing up at work every single day. So that was my first sort of introduction into what careers and that looks like. So the resilience part was the first thing that just got into my brain immediately. And then after that, you realize you need to be teachable, especially when you're starting out, right? And that is something that doesn't happen. I'm glad I got that immediately I started my career from an intern. You realize you don't know much. You think you know much when you are finished with your undergrad and you have a good grade, you're living there with an honors, etc., summa cum laude, whatever you're called. But you get into the workspace, you realize what is taught in class vis-a-vis what happens in the workspace is very different. So the application of it, the practical thinking of it, the people relationships around work, that is something that you need to be teachable and open to learn. So the other thing was just be teachable, be willing to learn. That really also laid a good foundation for just my growth and just my thinking around that. Then the other thing that I would say also shaped my thinking was mentorship. I'm saying mentorship from this point of when you're starting your career and you're trying to figure out your footing. So mentorship picked up for me a bit later. It was not very formal. It was quite informal. So there's the usual career departments that you have in the universities. There is the conversations that you'd have with the first maybe supervisor that you have as an intern, etc. Those are the people who help you to see what strengths you have, help you to see what gaps you have. So for me, from the word go, just having somebody to speak into the specific role I was undertaking, what my career goals looked like. And that is not just at the workspace, but also just life mentors, people who would see or believe in you. People would see the potential that you have. People would be able to encourage you in that space. So to this day, I do maintain mentorship. Like, it's a very important part of who I am, and I continue to shape even just my career trajectory, both professional and, I said, also personally. Yeah.
So now moving from the entry-level job into mid management.
Yes.
Your first profession, your first promotion, as we may think about it.
Yes.
What do you remember doing intentionally for you to get that?
So I'll look at it from just, again, the full career journey that I've walked. So, of course, after the internship, you start getting the first job, a couple of other jobs in between, a lot of general kind of roles, right? So one of the things that I did, and especially that it was general kind of roles, is I was lucky enough to get into consulting. So the privilege of consulting is you get to do a number of things with different clients, different industries. So part of the things that I did through that experience working as a consultant, just entry-level consultant, those graduate entry roles, I paid attention to what I was good at. Consulting exposes you to a lot of industries, a lot of kind of work. So I took time to pay attention to what I was good at. So one of the things that I picked out at the time I was working at Deloitte was I realized I'm very good at process documentation, process understanding, process analysis. So that's now what got me into thinking, okay, I think I do have a specialization in IT. I mentioned I was in IT that I want to get into. So that identifying your area of specialization, because when you're starting out, it's very general. So one, identify your area of specialization, and then now start looking at how you can grow that skill set in that area. So the direction I took was I went to school. I went back to school after I finished my consulting work. So I went back to school, got a master's where I specialize now in what we're calling that business analysis, which is the systems design, system analysis space. And then another thing that I did was I have repeatedly taken up additional roles on top of my JD, meaning I'm doing extra hours on top of everyone else, right? But the additional roles, I would pick them, I would be very picky about them. They would be complementary roles to what I'm already doing. So for example, there's a particular role I was doing in the nonprofit sector, okay? My first entry job in the nonprofit sector, I was a specialist at that time. I was designing systems for a local NGO, actually not local, an INGO, to the global NGO. So I was designing systems for them. But one of the things that came up as I would do the design, the testing, the implementation, we would have a situation where you need to manage the changes that are coming into the system. So that's the first time I had my boss talk about we need to do change management. Yeah. So I moved from thinking only technical to now thinking about how do you manage the changes, whether it's changes in the system, what changes people are experiencing. That's now I started interacting with like the different aspects of change management. So something like training, you need to train people, you need to write documents to support them, you need to support the stakeholder and have conversations with stakeholders, etc., just to help them to adopt the changes that you are seeing in that. And then the other thing that I also currently do is quite a bit of not only taking up additional roles, but also being mentored in the workspace. So I currently am a change manager, but I really want to gain skills around project management. Again, I'm using the same logic of take up roles or tasks that are aligned to what you do. So change managers, most of the time, will do a lot of project implementation. You'll have a lot of conversations with the project lead. So one of the things that I currently do, I have a supervisor who is an expert at project management. So during my conversations with him, during the peer mentoring, not even just the peer mentoring, the performance appraisals, etc., I intentionally share that I'm interested in growing project management. I ask for opportunities to do project management work. I ask him to review my project management activities. So he sort of mentors me in the space that I want to go into. So getting mentorship within the space that you're interested in. For me, I've used my current supervisor, but it's okay to also get somebody who's external to the organization, but they have the skill set that you want to grow into. Yeah.
As you were transitioning first in the early days, do you have a point where you say, this was one of the biggest mistakes I did and they costed you maybe your move at the particular time or to move in the particular position that you wanted to at that time?
So one, I think one of the mistakes I made early in my career, I tell people I stayed too long in a role that didn't fit what my professional goals were. And the reason why I say that is because when I look at professional goals, I'm looking at my personality, I'm looking at industry, I'm looking at things that I genuinely am interested in. So I feel like you shouldn't stay too long in a particular career. I think earlier I was telling you I have moved from one job to another. Yes. That's how I've grown myself, right? That's how I have grown. Let me not say grow myself. That's how I have grown. So I am a big advocate of don't stay too long in a place, right? If it stops serving the purpose that you want to accomplish in that area, stop serving your professional goals, move. So like my first early jobs, I stayed too long in certain roles where I lost myself. I forgot what I was good at. By the time you have learned or you've accomplished what you think you're getting out of there, or even if it's not serving that purpose, it's okay. It's okay to move. Don't worry about people worry about how your CV looks when you jump from one role to another. I don't think that is a factor, honestly, right now. I think it's important just to be able to find a space where you fit in. So don't stay too long. And then the other thing that I would say that is important for me, I don't look for big names. I used to. I wanted to work in the big four, with consulting, we call them the big four. I was obsessed. I had the vision board. It has to be these four companies. But I realized a lot of my professional growth, especially in the non-profit sector, has happened in NGOs that are not so big. They are big enough to allow me to grow. Just big enough, also not too small. Don't just look for names. I know a lot of people, when they think of the non-profit sector, I'll use that as an example because I work there. We want the UNs, we want the USAIDs, we want the DAD, the GIZs, etc. The bigger or more lucrative names. But sometimes your growth could happen in the smaller names. Smaller, not so known, but just big enough to allow you growth. Plus, they have less bureaucracy. They have more opportunities for growth, more opportunities to try and to test you. So those are the two things. So just somewhere between those two, I would not repeat those ones. I'm open to just jumping and growing, but then also just open to opportunities that might not look nice on the CV. And I believe eventually we will get to the UNs, we will get to those, the big policy makers, etc. But the growth might need to happen in those spaces where it's sort of safe to make mistakes.
Where they safeguard you or give you room to do
that.
Yes,
to do what it is that you want or what you need to do to get ahead, right?
From here, the stakes only get higher.
Yes.
So let's talk about the leap into senior management. For you, when you moved from entry to middle management and middle now to senior management, what really changes when that shift comes or when that promotion comes? Besides the salary, but what really changes?
Okay, so first, the number of meetings. I have so many meetings. I think you've seen that just having conversations with me. I have so many meetings in a day, like a lot of conversations with different stakeholders. When I was at analyst level, entry level, I just get work done. Someone would tell me, oh, this is what we agreed on, this is what we aligned on, get it done. So the number of meetings that you need to get into are ridiculous. They're quite a number. And I know people say this meeting should have been an email, but it helps to have the meetings, either physical or virtual. It really does help to build relationship because that's part of our job as just senior leaders. So there'll be a lot of meetings. Calendars are fully booked, right? And for us who are not really executive leadership or just somewhere in between there, we are booking calendars down and up. So that's a number of meetings. So the number of meetings. So that means you have, the reality is you will work extra hours. That's the reality. I'll just tell people the truth. You will work extra hours because during the meetings, yes, you're doing work, but it's not actual work. Getting the documents done, getting the content done, talking to people to get it done. It's not that. So there's number of meetings during your 8 to 5, but additional work, plus or minus something hours.
Paid or unpaid?
The salary is enough to cater for that. Let me put it that way. The salary is enough to cater for those spaces. And if it's not, move. Then there's also the non-technical requirements. So there's a lot of... one of my culture shocks when I moved... let me give you an interesting story. So when I moved from... the designing of systems, analyst level to Save the Children, I moved so many levels up. I moved to regional management. I did not understand how much of technical skills I will leave behind. Like I barely designed a system. It was important for me to have the technical know-how because we're implementing systems, but I barely used any technical skills at that particular time. It was good to have the background, but I will not tell you how much of non-technical skills I had to learn. Talking to people, and especially IT people, they make fun of us. We don't like talking to people. We don't. It's the truth. We don't like talking to people. So you realize there's a lot of stakeholder management, communication skills required, a lot of learning how to maneuver, influence politics at different levels, learning how to lead people, lead teams, have those difficult conversations just to drive the agenda and to get deliverables done. So a lot of non-technical skills were required that I needed to grow in. So that was also a proper culture shock that I went through. And then the last thing was that sobering realization of everybody is looking to you to deliver. You are the responsible, the buck falls on you. Right? In Kenya, we like to say, niwe tunakutegemea, meaning it's you we're depending on. So if I don't show up, the senior leader or the leader above me is waiting for an update, right? If I don't show up, the person who is working under me, I'm supervising, has no direction. So if I don't show up, if I don't get it done, it's not getting done, okay? So that sobering reality of it depends on me. So when you're the technical person, the analyst, they'll find somebody to do it, but now that, okay, I need to get it done. Everybody's looking to me. Everyone is asking for status, etc., etc. So that was just a very sobering and shocking reality for me. Yeah.
So now you're getting all these soft skills,
yes,
which are very critical for you to be working in your role.
Yes.
How do you then bridge the gap of building influence and not being toxic?
So that's a good question. Again, another sobering reality, the amount of politics at that level. And I like that you called it toxic, because I think there's a place for that influence, that political back and forth and conversation. There's a place for that. It's part of that stakeholder management. Another thing I had to come to terms with. I used to avoid office politics myself. I just put your head down, get your work done. Yeah. But then you realize as you get more into management, there is a place for politics, which I see it as influence, right? So how did I avoid the toxic politicking that you see people doing in the office? One, what I've just talked about, distinguishing what is good politics and what is just we're wasting time, okay? So I make a point to understand my stakeholder and to understand what tasks I need to get done, right? And then I will just think through what do I need to do to ensure that this gets done. So for example, I had a project that was being implemented in an office that is within this particular region. So of course it's a global project. I lead global projects, but then we do regional implementations. So for the project that was in this region, we were having resistance, right? So we didn't have the regional team was not quite clear about how we're going to go about this. So what I decided to do as part of politics, I started showing up to the office. I'm not required to go to the office. I work remotely. It's not my responsibility to go to the office. People should get things done. But I realized to influence, if I physically show up, it makes a difference. They feel the need to respond to my emails. They feel the need to respond to my boss's emails. So I intentionally decided there's a cost to it. I will be fueling my vehicle, go to the office, attend physical meetings, say a good morning to somebody, stand in the kitchen and have tea with the director or so and so. That is a way of exercising influence, but very subtle. It's very subtle. It's a political thing. When they're having specific in-country conversations, I don't reside in this particular region in terms of my contract. I reside in a global office, but I'm hosted here. So when they have activities for this region, even if I'm not required to attend, I attend. That is part of me just in good faith, right? Like we're in this together. So that when I send my meetings, they show up. And that worked. It does work. So that kind of understanding the stakeholder, understanding what their needs are, understanding what I need to do just informally to get things done. For me, that is influence. And I use that to my advantage to just get things moving. So that's one thing. Then the other thing I say about politics and just the toxic behavior you see in the office sometimes is personal convictions. I mentioned earlier that I'm a Christian. I don't take those things lightly. I think our work has to be influenced by the person that you are. Right? So I believe in treating people the way I want to be treated, right? Again, the reason why you see people throwing someone under the bus, etc., is the values they hold. So I don't believe in gossiping. Yeah, talking about people in the office, talking about who's good, who's not bad. I don't believe in those things. So my personal values begin to show up even in the office in terms of how the toxic behavior sometimes you see with politics. So things like gossip, things like throwing people under the bus, I think that's a scarcity mindset. I mean, there's opportunities for everybody. If I can't grow in this space, as I told you, I'll move to the next organization and I'll grow, right? You don't need to be mean or be wicked and just throw people under the bus just because something did get done or so that you can get ahead. No, you don't need to do that. There's room for everybody, right? So that scarcity mindset is something that I'm intentional about, and that's out of personal convictions. Like, I don't think there's a need to throw people under the bus or just to mistreat people for the sake of just getting ahead. Yeah, so those two.
Some people say senior managers are easily expendable.
Nice. It's good to know.
What do you think about that?
This is my opinion. Being in this role, as well as having seen other people in the role, I would say no. And no, because I feel like senior managers at the middle level management space is the bridge. The bridge between the guys doing the day-to-day work, right? And the senior leader who, like ELT, executive leader, who needs to think strategy, think etc. So for me, I would want my executive leader or whoever is my supervisor to have time to focus on more strategic thinking, strategic directions that we want to go to, right? So that's the kind of space I would want them to be in, so they don't need to worry about the day-to-day delivery of a project or operational activities, right? However, the person who I supervise somewhere, as I sit in between, I don't want them to worry about talking to the executive leader, trying to figure out what strategy looks like, trying to figure how does their role align to that. That's my responsibility to figure that out. For them, I just want them to focus on their technical expertise and getting the day-to-day operational things done. Plus, on that particular level, yes, they are the experts, for sure. Most of them are the experts in that particular space. But I also feel they might not have the skill set. You remember the skill set we talked about that bridges what executive leadership is doing vis-a-vis the day-to-day person? They might not have that expertise. So middle managers have an interesting combination of skills that touches on both the technical know-how as well as the executive leadership know-how. So let the executive leader focus on strategy, let the day-to-day person, the lower level, entry-level person focus on operations and day-to-day work. So I wouldn't get rid of the middle level. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I would want to understand that maybe most of our listeners would want to know what's the cost of rising or from moving from one position to the other. Why do people say it's lonely at the top? And how is it felt like for you?
Okay, so I'm going to respond first theoretically, and then I'll respond based on my experience. So I can understand why people say it's lonely at the top. So one, there has to be one person to lead, right? Not everybody might like you, because they have to pull from a pool of people within a team or get somebody external who people might not be happy with, etc. So it can get really lonely just because of the reality of leadership. Leadership is in such a way that there has to be one person responsible, one person leading. And that can get lonely because you have to manage your relationship with those you're supervising, right? And then you're not as high enough to be the cool guy talking to the executive leader. So it can get also really cold and lonely because it's a small pool of people. Everybody's focused on their own team and how they're driving their agenda. So it can get really lonely in that particular sense. I'll also speak for it from a woman's standpoint. I have to bring in gender from a woman's standpoint. So I'm in a field that is very male-dominated, IT, right? Pretty male-dominated. There are very few women who first do the course and stay in the course, but then also just rising up. It's as competitive as it can be, right? They do encourage women to apply for certain roles, but the realities of life is a lot of women are at home, taking care of families, etc. So a few exceptions here and there, you will grow in leadership. So also just from a standpoint of being a woman leader in a male-dominated field, it can get lonely. It does, because you need somebody to understand certain things that are unique to a particular gender and leading in that particular space. So for me, those are the too theoretical thinking that I would see, okay, maybe it can get hard. My experience has nothing to do with that. And I know I speak from a position of privilege, right? So my circle of friends, I rely a lot on social circles just to be able to cope. Has it felt lonely? No. I have had the privilege of having friends at work first, both male and female, who have walked with me that journey. They have supported me. We have moved interestingly for sometimes, some of them from one job to another together, right? And we're in peers with similar levels. If not, they have grown in the organization that I left them behind to a level where we can have those conversations, those difficult conversations of, how are you figuring out communications? What are you doing? How are you managing this political situation yourself? So I've been able to have people who have kept me company on my journey in the workplaces that I've been, or even if I moved, just those conversations. But then also again, as I said, I'm privileged enough to have friends who are in similar roles. We did not plan it. We just found ourselves in that particular space. So when I'm stuck with something, I have somebody I can call and consult in, Red Cross. I can have somebody I can call and consult who's in the medical field and she's on top of her career. Like I have somebody I can call who's in insurance, and they might not be the same industry, but human problems are the same. Leadership problems are the same. So I have somebody I can call and just have that discussion with. So it doesn't feel as lonely as I would say. Supervisors might harass you, but as long as I talk to my friend, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way out and we'll find how to have those conversations. So I would say my experience, I haven't felt as lonely as I thought I would. I haven't felt as lonely.
Now I understand why you're saying privilege.
Yes, it's privilege. It is privilege.
But for you, with all these transitions, what did you have to sacrifice? Or what did you have to give up?
So I'm a nerd. I'm a proper nerd. I might not look it. I'm not wearing my spectacles. I might not look it. But I love, techie things. I do. I loved deeply the work that I did before, the designing of systems, the doing the process documentation, the back and forth with developers, that harassing them. Harassing is not the best word. But the back and forth with developers. I enjoyed that and I missed that. I genuinely missed that. There's a part of me that wishes I could have that. I mean, I can give you an experience I had I was parking my vehicle at one of the malls in Nairobi here, and it couldn't read my car plate. So I know that's a system issue. I know that. I literally went to the parking office and told them my data for my plate is not on the database. I made them open the database and I told them your device is not reading data. It's not capturing it in the database. That tells me someone didn't test it well. That's how much I miss it. I use any day-to-day opportunity to do that. So I had to give up bits of that. I do find ways to fill it in.
Selina.
Yes.
If we would give you an opportunity to sit down with yourself as you were an intern with the experience that you have today, what would be one career lesson you would give yourself as an intern?
Career or life lesson?
Both.
A bit of both.
Yes.
Okay, so first we said around 25, when my career was really taking off. I was put the internship aside. I was quitting a job. It's a whole other story, another episode. But I would tell myself that it's just a matter of time, right? Be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Learn as much as you can. Take up as many opportunities as you can. And the reason I say that is because I feel the 20s, right, is where you figure out your life. At least in the Kenyan market, you're figuring out your life. There are opportunities to go abroad. If they are, take advantage of them. Whether it's self-funded or scholarship, take advantage of them. If there are opportunities to be mentored and learn from someone older, take them up, right? It's just a matter of time before you get to that six-figure salary we're all looking at. It's a matter of time before you learn and you grow in your skill set, before you find your specialization. It's just a matter of time. Just give yourself time to learn, to grow, to figure things out, and be kind to yourself in that process. Yeah. If I would not be worried about the quitting at that time. I was worried sick. But I think that's part of the growth journey, right? So just give yourself time, allow yourself to grow. You will grow eventually. Yeah. This is almost 10 years later, we are here talking about careers that we thought would never take off, but we are here. So yeah, give yourself time.
Thank you very much, Selina, for being with us today.
Thank you.
I definitely hope this episode is going to be a good insight to so many people who are looking into transitioning from entry level all the way to senior management.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This has been the Africa Career Podcast with me, your host, Pardingtone Nhundu. We check you in the next episode.